It is Freedom Day in New South Wales, so let's go live to the New South Wales Premier, Dominic Perrottet. Nice haircut. Happy Freedom Day. It is a great day for New South Wales, indeed. It's been a long 15 weeks, I might say. So today, Premier, is this the last of the lockdowns? Can you make that promise that from today, we'll see no more statewide lockdowns?
Well, Laura, that's certainly our intention. Don't have a crystal ball, but ultimately vaccination has been the key to opening up as quickly as possible, and to be in a position where on Saturday as a first dose we hit over 90%. I think that's incredibly positive for our state. We're certainly following the federal government's plan, the Doherty report, which says from time to time there may be the need to impose targeted restrictions in certain areas. Obviously, we're open and we'll work towards that as we move forward. But what's most important today is that after a pretty long slog here over 100 days, we're opening up in a safe way, and I think there's a lot of excitement around our state.
There certainly is a lot of excitement. Big plans are being made today on a pretty rainy day in Sydney, I might say. But it will concern a few people this morning that you note that we've hit that 90% single dose target. We'll probably be over 90% double dose by Christmas, but you still can't promise no statewide lockdowns. When does that end?
Well, that is our intention is to not go back into lockdown, Laura. That's what we've said as part of increasing the vaccination rate. We've got to learn to live alongside the virus. It's not going away. The best thing that we can do is protect our people. Everyone in our state, right across the board, has made enormous efforts to go out and get vaccinated. I think we've got one of the highest vaccination rates in the world, and that means we can open up as freely as possible, as quickly as possible, and that's my intention as Premier. That's the Cabinet's position. That look, there may be the occasion for targeted restrictions. That's part of the federal roadmap. We're looking at following that, but ultimately, when people are vaccinated, the best thing we can do to keep ourselves safe, our family and friends safe, alongside us.
When we look at businesses opening up today, some of these businesses are looking at skyrocketing wages potentially in the next couple of months. They're looking at staff shortages, ongoing supply chain issues. So what are you doing as Premier now to make sure that this opening isn't just a sugar hit for business, but it is the start of a road to recovery for them?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, this is going to be a challenge, Laura. We don't shy away from that, and labour shortages are an issue. Just being at the hairdressers 5 minutes ago, a lot of people during this time have moved away from working in areas they worked previously. We're certainly hearing that in the hospitality industry. I've raised this with the Prime Minister, and it's something that we're going to be working very closely with the federal government on, bringing in skilled labour into our state and into our country, because this was becoming an issue before the Delta outbreak. We were certainly hearing it about getting people from overseas into Australia to be able to work, because businesses are doing it tough, and as you say, that's going to lead to higher wage bills. That's positive in one side of things, because we've seen for some time stagnant wage growth across the country. So
are you turning the money taps off completely? I know you've extended JobSaver, but what are you thinking in terms of money for businesses, getting people back to work, filling those voids? Are you willing to, keep on spending your way out of this crisis to make sure businesses don't fall behind?
We've always said, Laura, we're going to put families, businesses and workers before the budget, and that's going to continue. We're extending aspects of the JobSaver program going forward. We know that the disaster payments from the Commonwealth Government have been important as well in providing support for workers. We're about to announce over the next couple of weeks our economic recovery plan here in New South Wales to stimulate the economy, just like we did last year. We lost close to 300,000 jobs last year. We recovered every single one of them, plus 30,000 more. There are going to be unique challenges this time around, but we've learnt from some of the issues last year where some of the stimulus programs work better than others, and you'll see that in our economic recovery plan. But we're going to put everything into this to ensure that we keep people in work and businesses going. That's what success looks like.
I mean, it would have been good if you could have got that QR code ready for businesses. Why couldn't you get that done in time? Because it's just a headache for them.
Oh, look, it's not perfect, Laura, but it's also, I see it as an added bonus. I mean, the Medicare app that everybody has, you can download that information quickly. If you want to download a certificate, you can do that through Services Australia. What the Service New South Wales app will do when it's integrated into that system, and there's a trial commencing today in regional New South Wales, that when you do check in using a QR code, that will also show your vaccination status as well. So that's what success will look like, but it's not an impediment today in relation to the opening. Obviously, it's a two-step process rather than one, but I'd rather be open and have a two-step process than be closed and having one.
Yeah, and we are closing in on an 80% target as well. New South Wales and the people have answered the call here, and you see that increase day by day. So when we hit 80%, when do those new restrictions come in? Are you really going to wait to the following Monday?
That's the position at this point. Obviously, we'll assess the situation as we move through. There was a lot of pressure last time to move the date forward ahead of today's reopening on Monday, but when you're talking to industry, when you're talking to businesses, they just want certainty and confidence to know what the government's plan is. So as we work through those days, as you say, I mean, the increase in double dose vaccination here is significant. It's such a great outcome, and as I said, like today didn't happen because of the government. Today's happened because everyone across New South Wales has gone out and made enormous efforts to get vaccinated. So it's their Freedom Day today, and if we can look at moving things and changing things, we will. But I'll always look at that in the context of ensuring there's certainty to everybody across the state around our roadmap.
Okay, are we going to get a big rise in cases now? What does the modelling say? What are you expecting, and are the hospitals ready?
Well, it's going to be a challenge. Laura, don't shy away from that. As mobility increases, cases will increase. We're the first state, I think, in the country to go down this path. But with the vaccination rate we have, I'm confident that we've done everything we can to keep people safe. With the vaccination rate where it's at, I think the reopening plan is well and very measured. So case numbers will increase, hospitalisations will no doubt increase. I've always said from the outset we will put everything we can into the health system. We've done that from the outset with $4 billion into a public health system at the start of the pandemic. We quadrupled our ICU capacity here in our state. We want to keep people safe, but at the same time this is a dual crisis. It's a health crisis, it's an economic crisis. Yep. There's also a mental health crisis as well. So we want to keep people safe, we want to keep people in work, keep businesses open as we learn to live alongside this thing.
So are you demanding more money from the federal government for hospitals like Queensland is?
Always demanding more money from the Commonwealth government, Laura. That's part of the job description. So whether that's GST or anything else, but the Commonwealth government's has put a significant amount of financial investment into this pandemic, as have the states.
Right.
But we have to be realistic too, Laura. That the public health systems right across the country are going to need further and further investment in the current world and also in a post-pandemic world. And I think there's no doubt there's going to be discussions between the Commonwealth and state governments in how those financial arrangements will move going forward, and I'll certainly be there getting our fair share for New South Wales.
Well, it's been a big first week for you in the job. Was your main aim here, of course, to get businesses back, for us to get all our freedoms back that we're entitled to, but also to say that you're not going to completely surrender to the health advice and that the politicians, the elected officials, are the ones back in charge?
Well, politicians are naturally the ones in charge, Laura. Elected officials are the ones who are responsible. I'm responsible as Premier of the state, so are my cabinet colleagues. Our duty as elected officials is to create a forum and listen to the health advice, listen to the economic advice, the mental health advice, bring all that information together and make decisions. It's not public servants who are responsible. It's public servants' responsibility to give frank and fearless advice to their leaders. It's the responsibility of the elected officials to consider that advice and make decisions in the best interest of our state, and that's what I'll do as Premier of New South Wales.
The last week there's been quite a focus on your family, on your conservatism, on your Christian faith. Did that take you by surprise? Do you have a women problem?
Well, certainly, no, I don't. And it certainly did take me by surprise. I mean, I've never felt that being Catholic's a problem, and it certainly shouldn't disqualify someone from serving in public office. And for somebody who's pretty young, 39 years old, that I've never experienced that in my life, and I don't think it has any impact on my capacity or ability to do the job. And it's probably something from a bygone era that was kicking around in the 1950s that a few people haven't been able to let go of.
Well said, Dominic Perrottet. Good haircut. You're there in the city.
Thanks, Laura.
You should probably give them a plug. Where did you go this morning?
Barberhood. They're great, and they're in Martin Place or down here on O'Connell Street. So Renee here does a fantastic job, small business, and they're incredibly excited to get back to work.
All right, Premier, thanks so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Laura.